This is Spencer James. Many of you probably know him for being the main character of a show called All American. Now, unfortunately, this show only had about 3 good seasons before it would start getting stupid. I mean, this series had some of the most brain-rotted, dumb stuff happen that you could ever see on TV. Like, why is this girl doing this, bro? It's ridiculous. But regardless, I think it's important to remember how great of a football player Spencer James is. And he could have been even better if he spent more time actually locked in on football. So today, I will be putting Spencer James into College Football 26. Let's see how his career might have turned out if he really tried to reach his potential, as we follow him on his road to glory. Now, throughout his career, Spencer James played ball at South Crenshaw. He had a hard time growing up in the streets of LA, but somehow he was still able to make himself out to be a top 5 player in the state of California. Cause see, y'all gotta understand that when Spencer James was on the field, he was moving different. There was almost nobody who could guard him, and oftentimes he'd be gliding downfield for a touchdown just like this one. But another thing about Spencer is that he is one of the crispiest route runners in the entire nation. There's a reason why he was so highly recruited by the time his senior year came around. He was getting offers from schools that he never even heard of. And at one point, he even earned himself a spot as a top 10 player in the country. Spencer James was such a dog on the field that sometimes his opponents didn't even want to tackle him. So with the entire crowd watching, Spencer was often able to get right downfield and cross over the goal line for another touchdown on his season. This kid was an absolute superstar, and everything seemed to be going great for him until one day, Spencer would realize how dangerous it is for him to keep playing at South Crenshaw, and he knew that something might have to change. The best thing about Spencer's life at this point was that he was receiving offers from all over the country. So he knew that there was a possibility that he could eventually make it to the NFL. But one day, he would meet somebody that would give him an even better chance at doing so. As Beverly Hills head coach Billy Baker met up with Spencer after one of his games, and he told him straight up that he needs Spencer to come play for his team.
Yeah, I need you to come play for me.
Play for you?
Play for me.
But at this point, man, Spencer really just didn't know what to do. He didn't want to leave his family and friends in Crenshaw. But when he decided to talk to his best friend, Coop, she told him that he gotta go, especially because it's a lot safer out there. So for the rest of his season, Spencer James decided to leave South Crenshaw and join the Beverly Hills Eagles. And soon it would not be long before Spencer James was heading out on the field with his brand new team. He now had a chance to get better exposure and possibly have a chance to get some better offers. He would definitely have to keep making some great plays though, this time for Beverly Hills, as they head into their next high school game. Now the great thing about playing for the Eagles is that Billy Baker let Spencer play defense too. And although there were a lot of times where he was locking stuff up, it seems like sometimes he didn't even have to do anything because what the hell is this? Either way, Spencer does a great job helping to contribute to this defense. But wide receiver was definitely his most impactful position. And on this play, he would prove it by snagging his ball out the air and bringing his team down to the 1-yard line. And on the next play, Spencer's teammate was easily able to get a touchdown to extend Beverly Hills' lead. Everything was looking great for this team as they were still in the lead. And with a couple more first downs, they had a chance to put this one away. So that's why on this play, Spencer hit him with a get off me, and make his way down the sideline before being brought down in the red zone. And you know who was there to greet him? Yes sirree, man, head coach Billy Baker. But oh nah, see, it turns out that his son Jordan Baker is actually jealous of Spencer. And that's too bad for him, because soon Spencer would also be clapping his sister's cheeks and taking her to prom. But with a couple more games in his senior season, Spencer was definitely more focused on just trying to get some more offers. And that's why on this play he came out here and snagged this ball before breaking off a tackle and doing whatever this was to get him in open space. Because soon Spencer would be gliding down the sideline and taking this from the distance for an 81-yard touchdown. Spencer had Beverly Hills looking like one of the best schools in the country, and they would definitely prove it in this one because by the fourth quarter, they crossed over the goal line for a score that extended their lead to 2 possessions and earned Spencer James some more college offers. But at this point, Spencer felt like he knew where he wanted to go. But things would begin to change for Spence when he found out that his best friend Coop got caught up in some trouble. And oh nah, see, she ended up getting shot. And at that point, Spencer knew what he had to do.
I'll be re-enrolling as a student at South Crenshaw High.
So for his final game of high school football, Spencer James was transferring right back to South Crenshaw, and he was about to do it for Coop. But before the game, he actually decided to take a visit to UCLA. And it turns out that he actually likes it there a little bit, so he decided to verbally commit. His decision still wasn't final yet, but regardless, he still had some work to do for his high school career. As it turns out that for his last game, he actually wants Billy Baker to come coach for him.
You're serious? Dead serious. Come coach for me. Here.
So in the last game of Spencer James' high school career, Billy Baker would be on the sidelines to watch Spencer go downfield and say, "Mwang," and come up with a touchdown to extend the Chargers' lead to 2 possessions. Spencer James was already looking great in this game, and he continued to on this 4th down and 1 that he helped convert, giving his team a chance to get down the field before half where he moved right by his defender, and he got wide open in the end zone for a touchdown, extending his team's lead once again. But when they got to halftime, Spencer realized that because of police brutality, he was gonna have to forfeit the game. And y'all wouldn't even believe it, man, because the other team, they decided to forfeit too. Yeah, man, the whole field was united. Look at them. But just like that, though, Spencer James' high school career was finally over. And soon he was gonna have to make his decision on where he wanted to go to college, officially bringing us to National Signing Day, where his top 3 choices are UCLA, USC, and the Oregon Ducks. And when Spencer realized that he had a chance to team up with Decory and more, he decided to say, hell nah, boy, I'm gonna be the #1 receiver in the nation. So that's why when it came to his college decision, he decided to throw UCLA off the board, because for his real choice, he decided to stay in Southern California and sign with the USC Trojans. But at this point, man, everything was going great for Spencer. But then everything would change when he took Olivia to the prom, because there were some people who decided that if they can't have Spencer, then nobody could. And it turns out that Spencer James would end up getting shot. And although he didn't have any life-threatening injuries, it did unfortunately mean that he was going to have to miss some games throughout the season. It was all good though, because soon Spencer was on his way to recovery with his doctors, and in no time he was out there putting in some work on the field while rehabbing his injuries. Unfortunately, the coaches didn't feel like he was ready yet, so he would go on to miss another game on the year. But eventually it would turn out that Spencer James would make a full recovery, and the coaches immediately wanted to give him a chance to move up the depth chart. And based on the way that Spencer was doing people in practice, the coaches knew that they had to get him on the field. So it was really no brainer that he was going to move up the depth chart, and for now he was going to be at wide receiver 3. But the coaches told Spence that they were definitely going to have Spence out there on the field in their next game. They were going to need somebody to come up with some impact plays, and they felt like Spencer was the guy to do so. So hopefully Spencer James can make something happen in his first college game, as he's on the road to face off against Penn State. Spencer James will make an appearance here on the first play, and already he's coming up with a catch, his first one of his college football career. And he was hoping that he would be able to keep this drive alive, but he gets taken out before he has the chance to do so. When he came back later in the first quarter though, Spencer was coming up with some nice plays over the middle to move the chains for his team. Eventually they moved past the 50 and called a play where Spencer was schemed wide open. He moves right past this safety for his first touchdown of his college football career. I don't know what the hell wrong with Spencer. He looking crazy right now. Hey, yo, why he moving like that? Regardless, Spencer was making a big impact in this game, and he was hoping to continue it going into the fourth quarter. They got to a 3rd down and 5 where they needed to convert in order to put this game away. And after Spencer got behind the defense, he came up with the catch, bringing his team within the 5-yard line and officially doing enough to give them their 3rd win of the season. USC took down Penn State 24-14, and they can largely thank their 3rd-string receiver Spencer James, who won 7 targets, caught 7 receptions, and went for over 100 yards on the day. It was no wonder why he was already being considered a fan favorite. But although he had a good first game, Spencer was honestly a little worried about the future of this program. He didn't realize that his team might have a big issue down the line at quarterback. So that was something that he would definitely have to look out for, but on the bright side, it turns out that Spencer's dad, who hadn't seen him in years, decided to show up and support his football career. And you know what, Spencer was just glad that he had his dad back in his life. He told him that he should come to one of his upcoming home games, but for now he had to take care of business on the road against Rutgers. Now Spencer wasn't getting a ton of playing time in this one, but he was doing everything he could to make the most of his opportunities. He came up with some great catches like this one that helped his team move the sticks. Unfortunately, he would not get much more of an opportunity than that, as he got taken out into the second half, where on this play, his quarterback ends up throwing a pick, and it looked like it could have been a bad one to give Rutgers some life. But fortunately, USC, even without Spencer James on the field, would take care of business, and ultimately go on to close this game out 24-7. And it was actually after this game where the coaches were so happy with Spencer that they decided to give him a chance to move up to the wide receiver 2. And going into practice, it was safe to say that he was definitely prepared to show the coaches that he deserved to be on the field more. And by the end of the day, it seemed like all the coaches had agreed, because now Spencer James was officially the number 2 wide receiver, and they would definitely need him to be great going into their next game at home. With Spencer James and USC going into one of the toughest games on their schedule, taking on one of the top teams in their conference, the Ohio State Buckeyes. To start this game off on back-to-back plays, Spencer James was out there being the guy to help make a play for his team, coming up with plays that helps them move them away from their own goal line. But it seems like the coaches didn't really care too much about that, because when it came to 3rd down and 1, they decided to take him off the field. But it was all good because they brought him back out on a 3rd and 10, and Spencer had come up with a big catch over the middle to keep their drive alive. Unfortunately though, he was once again taken out and didn't come back in until he was now down 14. So now with less than 30 seconds left in the half, Spencer knew that he had to make a play. And it seemed like this cornerback knew he had to as well because he let him go right past, and soon Spencer was wide open downfield for a huge catch, making a play that brought his team across the goal line for a touchdown in the final moments of the half, and giving his team a ton of momentum as they got the ball after half, leading to this 3rd down and 3 where Spencer had snatched it. Oh yeah, he's done. But he ran upfield before saying hey and bringing his team across the 50, putting his team in great position to tie this game up. But by the time he came back in the 4th quarter, they were still down. But since they were only losing by 3, it was no big deal. They just had to find a way to get downfield, but their quarterback had thrown some crazy shit up, and it ends up getting picked off, unfortunately leading to Ohio State having a 27-17 lead. And even though Spencer was out here snagging catches like this and stiff-arming people into the dirt, it turns out that it just would not be enough, as USC would go on to lose to Ohio State 27-17. A disappointing loss for USC, but they still feel like they have a very bright future. Well, at least when it came to Spencer James, because at this point he was already the leading receiver for the team on the season. But Spencer knew that he still had to get better, so he linked up with Jordan Baker, who had a crazy cut by the way, and they were putting in some work on the field. Spencer truly felt like if USC could get things going, they could potentially make a deep run in the college football playoffs. But first they would have to find a way to get back on track going into their next game on the season, where they would be facing off against Northern Illinois. Now this was another game where early on Spencer proved that he could make some tough catches over the middle, coming up with multiple here on the first drive that eventually led them to being across the 50, leading to a 1st and 10 where Spencer was trying to prove that he can make some plays on the outside too, coming up with a touchdown that gives his team the early 7-0 lead in front of the home crowd. It was clear that Spencer James had a mismatch in this one, and he continued to prove it here in the 2nd quarter. Regardless of that though, his quarterback was still finding ways to throw interceptions, which Spencer James realized in this game that it could eventually become a problem down the line. For now, Spencer was just going to do everything he could possible to get himself open, including camouflage. And on this play, it actually seemed to work a little bit. But he rarely ever had to do that, as most of the time he was frying this defense, just like he was on this play where he said hey, snatching the defender's ankles before he crossed over the goal line for a touchdown, putting some points up that extends USC's lead further and does enough to put an end to this game, as the Trojans go on to close this one out 28-16. And a big shout out to Spencer James, who went for 119 yards and 2 touchdowns. A huge game for the true freshman who at this point, it seems like he had finally done enough to earn himself a chance at becoming the #1 wide receiver. And with Spencer James feeling like he had a chance to become the #1 receiver in the nation, it was no surprise that he would show out in his practice and officially become the top wide receiver for USC. And at this point, once again, man, everything was looking great for Spencer James. He was doing good in school, he was becoming a leader for the team, but it seems like everything would change one day when he went to go hang out with his dad. And unfortunately, Spencer would sadly find him as he just passed away. So now, Spencer knows that he has to go throughout the season and really go crazy for his pops, man. And it wouldn't be long before he had another opportunity to do so, as he was now heading on the road, with USC facing off against another top 10 team in the country, the #8 Indiana Hoosiers. Now that Spencer James was the #1 receiver, he was getting the ball a lot. Unfortunately, his quarterback often had a hard time getting it to him, as he threw a pick here on his opening drive. So not a great way for USC to start this game, as by the end of the first quarter, they were down by 2 possessions. But soon that looked like it might change, as the receiver on the opposite side of the field comes up with a big play, bringing the team all the way across the goal line for 6 to make this now a 1-possession game. But on top of that, they would soon get a chance to take the lead as they force a turnover in plus territory, leading to a 3rd down and 12 where Spencer James had to make a play. And it looks like he's about to right here, as he comes up with a big catch for a 1st down, bringing us to the very next play where the corner blitz does not help Indiana, and soon Spencer James was crossing over the goal line for his first score of the day. A big one that not only gives his team the lead, but seemingly sets the tone for them going forward, because soon USC would be up 21-10, and Spencer James was now going for another 100-yard game, eventually leading his team down to the goal line where he scored another touchdown, putting him at over 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. But it turns out he wasn't even done before the half was over, because on this play he was left wide open, coming up with his 3rd touchdown of the day, and he's still not even out of the 2nd quarter. At some point in the 3rd quarter, USC was up 35-17. And at some point, Spencer James was cooking up Indiana so bad that he had to make sure that he wasn't on All-American. Yeah. USC would go on to dominate Indiana 41-17, mostly due to a big game by Spencer James, who had 16 receptions, 240 yards, and 3 touchdowns. An absolute monster of a game that Spencer knows that if his dad was alive to see, he would be more than proud of. Because Spencer went on to not only win Big Ten, but also National Offensive Player of the Week. An incredible performance from the true freshman Spencer James, who is still in the process of grieving over his father's death. But he knows that the rest of the season will definitely be dedicated to him. So Spencer was out there working hard to keep growing as a player because he knew he was about to get into another big game on the road, as USC is getting ready to face off against another Big Ten opponent. Now early on in this one, Spencer's only reception was a negative 3-yard gain, because soon they would get to a 3rd down and 18 where they decided to run it, and obviously it got stopped, leading to the second quarter where USC was down by 6, and the quarterback decided to go out there and throw a pick, giving the ball back to Wisconsin, and eventually they would be up by 16, leaving USC in a bad spot before half. But soon, Spencer James would say, "Wang," snagging his ball out the air and giving his team some life, because soon they would get the ball past the 50 just like Spencer got past his defender, and soon he was out there gliding downfield for USC's first points of the day, giving the Trojans a chance to really spark a comeback here. And it seems like their defense was on the same page, forcing a turnover deep in enemy territory and allowing the offense to get the ball right back where unfortunately they could not convert on 3rd down, bringing us to the 3rd quarter where USC's only down by 6. But the receiver on the opposite side of the field is looking to tie this game up. Emmett Mosley V is coming up big to bring this team back, as he and Spencer James seem to be a great duo that has helped this team all throughout this game. But for now, it doesn't seem like Spencer is quite done yet, because after coming up with another catch, he was able to outrun this entire defense, and it reminds him of how he was playing when he was a kid, man. He was out there crossing over the goal line for another touchdown on the day, putting up points that not only extends the Trojan lead, but does enough to put an end to this game. USC goes on to blow out Wisconsin 36-16. And once again, it is Spencer James showing up big time with another 150-plus yard game and 2 touchdowns. With Spencer playing as well as he had so far throughout the season, it was no surprise that soon he was earning himself his first NIL deal. But as great as this was, Spencer only had a few games left in the season to help USC get back in the playoffs. The Trojans had to get completely locked in, and they definitely tried to be going into their next game at home against Maryland. Early on in this one, this USC offense was doing a great job moving the ball, eventually getting inside the red zone where Spencer James had easily come up with a touchdown on his 2nd reception of the day. And from there, it was pretty clear that Maryland was going to be in for a long night, because by the time USC got the ball back, Spencer was once again cooking up his defender, going for another 6 points as USC took a 14-0 lead, bringing us to the end of the half where Maryland was trying to run prevent. And I bet they thought it would work before Spencer would say, "Hey," juking out half the secondary and getting himself into open space. Out of nowhere, Spencer James was racing up the sideline and eventually across the goal line for his 3rd touchdown of the day. This kid was an absolute superstar, and it seems like every USC fan in the stadium knew it. Now things would not always be great for Spencer James though, as later on his quarterback would throw an interception. A pretty bad one too that led to USC only being up by 5 points. But even after the Trojans get stopped here on 3rd down, it seems like they had already done enough to put an end to this game, as USC comes up with another big win at home thanks to another big performance from Spencer James. Unsurprisingly, his coaches were very happy with how he was playing, and they even felt like he should have a chance to be in the Heisman Trophy race. But if Spencer wanted any chance of doing that, he would have to keep showing up big going into the biggest games of his season, as now USC was heading into another huge game at home, where they would face off against the number 7th ranked team in the country, the Oregon Ducks. Now, it was safe to say that USC did not get off to a great start in this game, because early on their quarterback threw not just 1, not just 2, but 3 picks in the first half. But this did lead to USC only being down 6 points before halftime, so at least they still had a chance to take the lead in this game, and Spencer James was helping them get in position, bringing his team down to the goal line with less than 2 minutes left. And a couple plays later, Spencer James would finesse his way across for a touchdown, putting up some points that was about to give his team the lead. Unfortunately, though, Oregon would still find a way to score before and after halftime, bringing this to a 19-7 ball game, but Spencer James was trying to do everything he could to change that. He came up with multiple big plays over the middle on this drive, including this one that brought his team inside the red zone. Eventually, they would get right down to the goal line where another catch from Spencer James leads to another touchdown, definitely bringing them back in this game, and they now had a chance to take the lead by the end of the 4th quarter. But on this 2nd and 1, the quarterback decides to throw another pick, his 5th one of the day, that goes on to cause USC to lose this game, as the Trojans go on to drop this one 19-14, and despite the fact that Spencer goes on to win another Big Ten Offensive Player of the Week, he was actually so pissed off about his quarterback being trashed that he accidentally took it out on Coop.
Oh, feeling Billy. Leave me alone!
Spencer just couldn't believe that his team had a chance to drop out of the college football playoffs. And they almost certainly would if they couldn't find a way to bounce back in their next game. As now USC was heading on the road to face off against their biggest in-state rival, and the same team that Spencer James had decommitted from, the UCLA Bruins. Early on in this one, once again, USC's offense was not getting off to a great start. But it wasn't only because they were getting stopped on third down, because their quarterback was also back to throwing picks, turning the ball over in a low-scoring game so far where every point might end up mattering. But in a game where Spencer was having somewhat of a rough day, he would soon find a way to start turning it on, coming up with some plays that would lead his team down to the goal line before half, where they easily crossed over it for a score, putting up some points that gives them the lead at the end of the second quarter, and they would maintain it until the end of the third, bringing us to 3rd down and 10 where they decide to take a shot deep to Spencer James, and somehow he's able to say, "Wang," coming up with an incredible catch that brings his team inside the 10-yard line, giving his team a chance to extend their lead where a couple plays later they could not convert this 3rd down. And unfortunately, this would lead to UCLA taking the lead back. Now bringing us to 1st down where the quarterback decides to take a shot deep to Spencer again, but this time this ball is definitely underthrown and it ends up getting picked off. A huge takeaway for UCLA that not only gives them the ball back, but gives USC another loss on their season. And after losing back-to-back games against top 25 ranked teams, it looked like there was pretty much no hope for USC to make the college football playoffs. And Spencer would eventually get a text from his friend Jordan telling him that maybe they should play football together, because even he knows that his quarterback is trash. So that was definitely something for Spencer to think about as he was heading into his final game of the regular season against another top 10 ranked team in the country. But in this game against Notre Dame, they were playing a lot different than they had over the past couple weeks, as Spencer James came up with a touchdown here in the second quarter to give them a 2-possession lead in the first half. But soon though, even with Notre Dame doing a great job getting back in this game, they were not doing a great job guarding Spencer James, because eventually they would get to a 3rd down and 10 where Spencer James just ran upfield and snagged this ball off the defender's head, putting up a score that would extend USC's lead to 2 possessions, and it would remain that way until they had a 3-point lead in the 4th quarter. Where on this 3rd down and 15, all they needed was a 1st down to put this game away, but Spencer James was not able to convert. So now the offense had to watch as Notre Dame drove downfield and eventually could not put up any points, leading to a huge win for USC that might have still kept their playoff hopes alive. And they could once again thank an incredible performance from Spencer James, who went for 15 receptions and 179 yards. Not to mention 2 touchdowns that helped bring his team back to the 9th ranked team in the country. Unfortunately though, they did lose too much throughout their season and would not be able to compete for the conference championship game. On top of that, there was another wide receiver who went on to win a Heisman Trophy, establishing himself as the best wide receiver in the nation. So Spencer James definitely didn't like that, but it turns out that he wasn't too far behind him, as Spencer found a way to go for 1,500 yards and 16 touchdowns on the season, earning himself 1st team All Big Ten and 1st team All American, at least being able to establish himself as the #1 freshman player in the country. On top of that, Spencer found a way to get into the Heisman Trophy race, an incredible accomplishment for the freshman who started the year off getting shot. But now Spencer knows that he actually has some more work to do, because it turns out that USC did in fact make the college football playoffs, and they would have a chance here to move on to the 2nd round in a game where they had home field advantage, facing off against the Miami Hurricanes. Now for some reason early on, this USC offense was just not able to get on the same page, going 3-and-out on their first 2 possessions, luckily only leading to a 3-0 lead for Miami, but soon an interception was giving them a chance to build upon that lead. Luckily, USC's defense was playing just as well as it had all season, and with the help of Spencer James, who continued to come up with huge plays like this one, bringing his team into field goal range with 1 second left in the half, the Trojans were able to have this game tied by the 3rd quarter. But soon they were looking to try to find a way to take their first lead of the day, and Spencer was definitely putting them in position to with this catch, bringing us to the end of the 3rd quarter where even though Spencer did not call for it, the quarterback throws a pick, an absolutely horrible turnover that takes points off the board for USC and ultimately allows Miami to take a 10-3 lead. But now by the end of the 4th quarter, with USC feeling like they still have a chance, their quarterback would take it away, throwing a ridiculous interception that allows Miami to take a 13-3 lead. But you know what? It's okay, y'all. USC still got a chance. I said, nah, man, this quarterback needs to go into insurance or accounting ASAP, because USC would go on to lose in the playoffs at home 13-3. And it almost didn't matter that Spencer James put up a 115-yard game, because his team just did not do enough. And just like that, his freshman season was now over. By the end of the season, Spencer James was a top 3 receiver in the nation, establishing himself as an incredible and dynamic weapon, while his quarterback established himself as a future employee for H&R Block. I mean, nah, for real, how do you throw more interceptions and touchdowns? I mean, that's just crazy, bro. So Spencer James knew by the end of the season, man, he was definitely hitting the transfer portal. And the good thing is that he had the option to go to pretty much any school he wanted to in the country. But when he found out that Coach Billy Baker is going to be moving up to college and choosing a team, he knew that he might have to follow him and play there, especially if Jordan decided to come and play quarterback for him too. So Spencer James and Billy Baker definitely has some decisions to make, but I'll leave that decision up to you guys. If you want to see a part 2 of Spencer James in College Football 26, be sure to get this video to 1,000 likes and subscribe to the channel down below. Also be sure to comment down below what college you guys want to see him go to and what else you guys want to see next on College Football 26. If you got to this point in the video, just know that I appreciate you more than you'll ever know. I hope you all have an incredible rest of your week, and other than that, I'm gonna catch you guys next time.